Hello and welcome to Cultivating Confidence with Kirsty and Jill, or Jill and Kirsty. So we have decided to put our heads together because Jill and I met and we discovered that we share an awful lot of crossover when it comes to confidence, a huge amount. And everything that we do is to empower other people to succeed. So later on, I am going to talk about how I use visions for Vision Board Visionary with public speaking, on camera and marketing. But as usual, you are used to hearing me talk. So I'm going to pass over to Jill, and she can share some really amazing tips that she uses when it comes to goal mapping. So Jill, over to you.
Well, yeah, so exactly. We do have quite a lot of things in common. And it's really quite interesting when you start to work with somebody, how that kind of grows and develops, and they sort of go, oh, you think that too. So I use vision boards, that concept of vision boards in some of the coaching I do, which is goal setting. We all know that picture says 1,000 words. So actually having the image of where you want to be and what you want in your life and in your business is really powerful, because that motivates, because you can see it. If you can see it, if you can visualize it and you see it, you start to feel it. And when you start to feel it, it becomes really motivational. You get in step with developing your goals and staying on track, because a lot of this is about staying motivated.
And that's exactly the same when it comes to public speaking, because a lot of people say to me, how do I do this? How do I learn my script? I've sat there, I've written my presentation, I've written it, I know it, I've practiced it, and then they stand up and it all goes to pot. No matter what you do, or you stand up and you put so much into the visuals on, or the words on your presentation, that actually the presentation won't run. So what I say to people is to think in images. So to cut back on all the text. So it's that thing of actually think in pictures. And this is where we got really interested in how you can set things up using your visions and the images that you use. Your images, as you said, a picture paints 1,000 words. An image will give you that clue that you were looking for far quicker than trying to read a text. And also, as we all know with the presentation deck, if you've got loads of text on it, people are reading that and they're not focused on you, the most important thing in the room, the presenter.
Yeah, and actually they get distracted by all sorts of things. But I mean, we have to remember that we dream in pictures, we remember in pictures. So actually we tell stories in pictures, and storytelling is a very powerful way of passing on your message. And if you've got, I mean, I'm sure there's an awful lot of people that have worked in a corporate environment where you've got a massive strategy document, which is a big heavy piece of stuff that gets makes you go cold just at the thought of it. But actually, if you've got a picture and a vision that you can very easily explain to somebody, that is way more powerful than having this big document with loads of words. Actually being able to say to somebody in a very quick, this is what I'm going to be doing with my business, or this is what I want from my team. So that's where goal setting and vision boards come into play, with developing teams and people and and your business.
And again, that's
just because it's
it's reflected in your marketing. So one of the things that you see a lot, and I'm not going to say it's mistakes, because that's too harsh. It's a learning process. So there's no such thing as a mistake. We learn from them. But what you'll find a lot of time, and I did it in one of ours. So I was rushed and I put a post out and I had the text too small and I put too much text on. Now I don't tend to make that mistake. Sorry, that learning curve, but I did it recently because I was pushed for time and I was rushed. And it's that kind of thing that we need to be mindful of, that if we put lots of text over the image, we can distract, but our imagery must link back to what we're actually saying in our copy. And again, it's that imagery. I can't speak this afternoon. That link of the image, and the image is what actually kind of gets somebody to click through. So your image needs to be clickbait as well.
Yeah, and I'm we all know that our attention span is that of a gnat now, and it's getting shorter and shorter. So a little bit of visual really helps. It kind of also if you're wanting to explain something, if you see a picture, it's a really good prompt. Words are not such a good prompt. They take more time, don't they? So actually a picture is a really good prompt, and it's a nice way of supporting thing and maintaining your confidence, because if you believe in that vision and that picture, you talk in a very different way. And I think that's really important, is being that's what we're all about, is building that confidence. So finding a picture or an image that really talks to you means that you are confident. You know exactly what you want. You know, if this is the image of the vision you have for your business, then you can really talk about it. You see that vision and you can talk around it. And it's those kind of conversations that mean that any communication you have with your audience, and your audience is broad. It's not just your clients, it's your suppliers, it's the people you work with, it's everybody that you come into contact with, it's all of your stakeholders. It makes a really big difference. That's why we're here, being visual.
Well, this is it. And that's the same again with that public speaking, that imagery recall, that storytelling. When it comes to recanting a story, when we think about the memory we've been through, when we're recalling and actually going through that story, we are recalling it in pictures. We're not recording it with words. And the other thing that's really key about the imagery that we use when it comes to public speaking, our marketing, is actually the way we write is not the way we talk. And yet people get really caught up in this thing of going, I've got to learn the words, I've got to learn the words. And we're not, I am, but 90% of people out there are not trained actors. And if you're not a trained actor, you're putting another layer of pressure on yourself to try and learn a script. Whereas if you go with the images, so say you're talking about a story of you being a 4-year-old child, go and pick up a picture of your favorite toy, or you as a 4-year-old child, and you will recant that picture almost exactly as you saw it. And that's for me so important when it comes to public speaking. Instead of looking at and I have a clock that I use, which also works with timings. So you can take a minute, you can take an hour, and you can break it down into timings, and you can use an image for each one. And
so you make it a circle round you, don't you? So that you can then you can walk through the story. Storytelling is really powerful. I mean, and that just remind us all that you just need to pick up an object and explain it. Yeah. And that you get a natural conversations, and it's natural conversations that mean that you're more engaging, because you're not, it's not too, the whole scripted thing doesn't work, does it? Because it just it sounds too false,
and it's
quite
really
frankly, it sounds like BS, doesn't it? Really.
And that is why we're doing this together. And that's one of the things that when I first met you, you know, I was very young at that time. I wasn't young, but I was young in business. People always find that really funny when I say I was a young businesswoman. But this goes back to a Turkish businessman that I met years ago. He said he was a young businessman and had been in business for 10 years. Well, I'm an infant at the moment because I've only been going 4. So, you know, kind of puts things into perspective. But when we met, we didn't know that we would align so much on the confidence, but also the visions. And I think it was when we started working on Jumpstart Your Business that we started looking at the images, and we started looking at other things. And then you did a goal map on me. And I think it would be really good to talk about that, because there's a lot of people like me. I don't like drawing particularly. And people think you've got to be a good drawer to do a goal map.
No. And this is what's quite interesting, because I'm not a very good drawer as well. Not a very good artist. Yeah, I can splash a bit of paint on something and make it look a little bit interesting. But what I find really fascinating about the whole concept is what I do is with the left side, logical side of your brain is writing down the goals, and the right side, creative side, is drawing pictures. I find that the challenge is if you're a very logical person, you find it difficult to do the pictures, and vice versa. If you're very creative, you find it difficult to do the words. But actually doing that difficult bit is very powerful, because you don't have to draw a picture, but find a picture that sings to you, that awaken something in you. It can be a personal photograph, it can be anything. Find something from the internet. We can always use a particular search engine and find something and copy it. Either you draw it yourself or just put it in your goal map, because that really helps. And I found that sometimes I take forever finding the right picture. Honest to God, it's like, it's really hard. But when I find it, it's incredibly powerful, because what it does is awakens the other side of my brain. So, and that's what it does. And the same for anyone that's creative. When you find the right words, because words can be quite powerful too, that it actually really activates your brain. And what we talk about is whole brain activation and the combination of words and pictures. But essentially, pictures do, and that visual thing does evoke quite a lot of memories. It's the same. There's other. It's just a different sense that we use really to motivate.
And there's something really nice about pictures also, which helps us. We talk about that emotional connection, but also if we're using pictures, it also almost in some ways, particularly with public speaking, because you're using the images, you can go to it. Your brain goes, aha, that's that picture. I'm okay. And that minute, that second of I'm okay helps you check in and also helps you reset the nerves. And so using images rather than trying to find what your next word is, searching around like a chicken in a hen hoop, trying desperately. I think I said that correctly, but trying desperately to search for that piece of corn. Actually, you've got a storyboard, and I want to just mention about storyboards here. When it comes to creating a short film or a long film, you very rarely do you see in the art department a script laid out page by page by page. What you see is a storyboard. It's a story arc, and it's images that represent kind of the shot that they're going to take, not necessarily the full thing. So you don't necessarily storyboard the whole film, but you will leap, because it's back to cartoons.
Yeah, I'm going to say, and magazines. Do you remember the first thing that you do as probably the first book you have is a cartoon. It's that, or the flick book. Yeah. Different movements. Yeah. And it's that kind of thing. And I also think there's power in familiarity as well, because there's a comfort in familiarity. If you see an image on a regular basis, you feel connected to it. That's why branding an image is so important, because it's that feeling that it evokes, and you can't explain that in words. It's just a feeling it evokes.
Well, let's look
That's
at
why
some of the big
smiles when they see us.
Yeah, I know. Well, let's look at some of the big brands out there. We won't mention them because, hey, we're live. But if you think about the big brands, so whoever's listening right now, think about your favorite brand that you go to, and you can instantly recall the color. You can instantly recall the logo by recalling, and that's the first thing you go to is the color, the logo, then the product, or you might go to the product, but ultimately you know exactly. I'm thinking of some kind of fruit, for instance. You would go, Same with crisp manufacturers. You know exactly which brand you're going to go to, because you will find it by the color, by the look, by the feel, and it's that emotive connection, isn't it?
Yeah, and there are lots of things that there are some things you'll never find. I find it quite fascinating what things are blue, for example, and what things are yellow and what things are orange, because those colors do evoke something in you. It's an orange or yellow is a happy color, and maybe blue is a bit more serious. Yeah, I think you'll probably find that quite a few businesses use blue because of that seriousness that they want to bring into a play. So actually, all of those images are really important, and it's the difference between rounded letters and sharp letters and that kind of thing. Gosh, we've got onto something quite different. We're now talking branding and vision, aren't we?
I don't quite know how we got that, but that's the whole thing, aren't we? We're talking about vision board and we're talking about visioning. And I know that I write down my goals. I draw my goals. In fact, I don't draw them. I choose photos to represent what I want.
No,
and
that's really cool. Yeah.
A little bullet point next to it. And since I've been doing this, I am actually getting where I want to go. And years ago, I drew a vision board, and I actually drew a whole thing, and I drew me walking along the road. Now I said I'm not a drawer, but I drew me. This is a personal, rather not business. This was an overarching, where do I want to be? So I set my 5-year plan and my 10-year plan, and my 5 and 10-year plan are me walking along a road with the bits that I want to get to at different time stage. Again, it's that clock, isn't it? It's back to that setting some time. And I
can just imagine you now with a trolley suitcase. and the whole load of accoutrements. I mean, that's exactly it, isn't it? When somebody starts to describe something, you have a picture in your head. So I've got this picture of all sorts of gadgets coming out of you, because I know how much you like a
Well,
bit of tech.
actually, I
Yeah.
will be honest, there was not on my vision board my little festival trolley, but I do have one now, thanks to you and Oya telling me that I had to get one. So I do have a little trolley now, but if you'd said me 6 months ago, I didn't have one. But yes, it is. It's that, what I really like about the road is it's a straight road, but there's roads going off it. So I can always go off on a tangent and come back on. And I kind of see life sometimes, again, vision stuff, but I see it as sometimes you have to go off. Sometimes you have to, particularly in your marketing. So you've gone down a path, everything's starting to look the same. And that's when you bring in an image that you wouldn't necessarily go for, but it evokes a strong reaction in you. So in your marketing, if you find that everything's got a bit samey, but you find an image, now Zoe did this to me yesterday, you find an image that doesn't necessarily resonate, but it creates an emotional reaction, use it.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, isn't it? Because I think that we all find for ourselves it's quite difficult to do it for yourself. That's why sometimes having an external perspective is really valuable. Sometimes it's almost it's invaluable, really. So having somebody to bounce ideas off is really useful. Whether that is, using a marketing support or a coach of any sort, it's really quite interesting. Just because they kind of reflect back to you what they see. Because we can be a little bit blinkered in our view, because we know the message you're trying to convey, so that's the only thing that you see. So actually very interesting having something conveyed back to you, getting opinion from different people of how it resonates with them is really interesting. And that is that's a big challenge for business owners, is to understand your client, understand it from a customer perspective, or customer experience thing. We talk about that, don't we, in our course?
We do, but there is also something else we need to be mindful of, and again, it's a vision, or our imagery that we use, or how we present will work for us, but it won't necessarily work for another person. So you can't push. So if I'm standing here and I say to a client, we're doing public speaking on camera, and I'm saying, I want you to do a vision board, I want you to think about your speech in visuals, I can't dictate to them to choose them. I cannot sit there and say, I want you to put a house here, I want you to put a garden there, I want you to put a train, because there's no emotional content. And that sometimes does happen. Not for me, but I know that it has happened. I know. So from that reason, if someone says to you, find a vision for your imagery, again, it's the brand imagery. So I will go off for a new client and I will research. They'll give me a brief and I will research about 20, probably about 200 photos. And then I do this thing with them where I sit them and I say, instant emotional reaction.
Response.
Instant, like, don't like, it's all I want. Yes, no, like, no, like, it's as simple as that. And if they're thinking more than 3 seconds, they're going, I'm like, it's gone. It's gone.
No, it's really important to get that gut feeling, the initial reaction, because it's the emotional response that we always want. And that emotional response is for a whole series of things within your business. First of all, it's how it makes you feel. Yeah. If getting this goal, how does it make you feel? But it's also how does it, delivering this service, how are your clients going to feel? What is that evoking? Because basically, even though we try and say it, we are emotional response. What we do is we respond emotionally within a very short time frame, and actually we then look for evidence to justify our decisions. So it's actually that's what you want to do, is you want to find a way of getting that emotional response, but then having the strategic answers to those questions as a backup to help people, justify why they want to do whatever it is they want to do, like they want to work with us, basically.
So we've had some people join us. They're just saying good morning. So thank you, Denise, and thank you, Deborah. Just as we're talking, because we're going to make this very fluid. So this is our first one, but we are going to make it fluid. If you've got a question and you're listening, do feel free that you can pop it into the chat. If we can't see your name, we won't know who you are, but don't worry, we can see certain names. But please drop it into the chat, because you might have a question that's relevant to what we're talking about, confidence and visions, visual boards and imagery, and we'll try our best to answer it. So as we were just saying,
and also if you want to interject, if you think we're wrong, please shout. Let's have a
well,
have a
exactly,
healthy discussion. Yeah, because I think that's really important, is having a healthy discussion and getting different viewpoints, because it's all very well saying we don't want to be in an echo chamber. We do occasionally disagree. Or we challenge each other. I think it's challenging each other is quite interesting. Or we come from different perspective. So you're much more creative and come from that creative industry, and I've come from a very sort of stodgy business background. Not stodgy, but I mean it's kind of very quite regimented, so you less creative.
And it's interesting because I did try to fit into the corporate space. You know, I did go into that kind of regimented, stodgy, draconian. I can say some other words there because it was very male dominated. That's not against my male friends. I love you very much, but it was very male dominated. And I was, again, it's this vision. Okay, so a good example. I'm really vibrant. I'm really loud. I'm unapologetically loud almost. I'm not in your face, but at the same time, I am that creative. Some people call me a Tasmanian devil. I come in, I've got lots of energy. I don't have ADHD. I'm just full of life. And I'm quite vibrant. And I come into your office and you can be like, oh, what's that?
Yeah, but it's the same thing with vision and energy is all part of the same thing. And sometimes we all need a little bit of a change in pace, don't we? So a little bit of a change in pace can really help. And it's just understanding how you do that. We can get onto music now, and how you can use music and that kind of thing to either calm down when you're a little bit stressed, or liven things up when you're feeling if you're feeling a bit down and you want to liven yourself up. Movement is the best thing. Movement, getting a little bit of energy in. So that's speaking with the right people, listening to a different motivational music, having a bit of a jump around.
So I'm just going to go back to visions,
because we've gone off piece as per usual.
Well, yeah, but that's also spurred me on to think about something. So one of the things I say to people when it's that vision thing. Sometimes when you are that up there and you're hyper and you're nervous, sometimes you need to just put yourself in a safe place. Yeah. And again, this is where visions can really come into play. So you can think of your safe place. So I have one. I'm quite happy to share it. I love it. It's called Avebury. And when I'm really, really stressed, what I will do is I will sit where I am quietly. Now, this, in my case, because I've got an 8-year-old, could be the toilet, but I will imagine the stones of Avebury, and I will take that deep diaphragm breath, the breath that comes in from the diaphragm. I will make sure that I am bringing in the space, and I'm taking 2 or 3 to 4 deep breaths. So it's a deep breath in, holding, and then relaxing it out. And I do this, repeating it, taking me to my safe place. Now, I know you have a vision, which is why I brought it back. You have a vision thing that you do when you come to
I've actually found it a couple of times. It's very powerful. But I'm very aware. I'm an NLP practitioner and trained, and I was very aware when I was in that situation why I was doing it. So I was laid on a beautiful beach in Antigua, and it was just stunning. It was just beautiful. And I purposely said, now I'm going to capture this moment so that I can use it in the future. So it's a beautiful, absolutely stunningly beautiful beach. And I did in that moment was, it's a technique which is seeing all the things I could see, feeling the wind and the gentle breeze, and the sun in my face, and also hearing the waves lapping at the shore. And I purposely locked that into my brain, and I use that in various places. I've been at the dentist, and the dentist goes, "Where have you been?" I said, "Don't interrupt me. I'm in Antigua. Carry on, but let me get into my let me get to my beach." So I've done that, and it's really powerful if you can do that. And it's listen, hear what you hear, see what you see, feel what you feel. And it's a really good way of doing it. And I've also, all I can say is I use visualization while playing golf. And it's a very interesting one. I'm not a golfer, by the way, but it's the same thing. Is you'll find it almost with anything. It could be any game or any sport you do. Is when you're told how to hold the club or the racket, you're told how to stand, yeah, and you're told how to hit the ball. And when you hit it square on, you know how it feels. But we are often distracted by visuals. So actually close your eyes and imagine hitting that ball. You know where it is. You've lined yourself up. And imagine that flying up into the air. I can do it now, and landing in the right spot. And I can tell you, when I was doing that with my eyes shut, my shot was closer to the pin playing golf with my eyes shut than when I was open, because I was using different all of my other senses to make the right moves. So visualization is powerful in many ways. Imagining what it is that you want to achieve, whether it's getting the ball in the hole or your goals, it really, really does work. Or, saving yourself from a dentist.
I used to do that before I used to go on stage. So when I was learning my dance routines or I was learning my lines, I would lay back and I would visualize myself doing the actions, doing the movements in my costume on stage. And every night, so for 9 months, I was on tour. Loads of actors have been on tour. And you have to do the same thing every single night. And actually, it becomes a bit like it's almost automatic. But in that automation, you make mistakes. And so I used to before I went to sleep every night, I used to run the routines in my head to make sure. And then the first thing I do in the morning was run the routines in my head. Same as I do with my lines. If I'm doing a performance, and I don't act these days, but before a performance, I run the lines in my head, and I run the lines before the night and in the morning. The other thing, again, it's this vision stuff. When it comes to practicing to go on camera, a lot of people go, "Oh, I've just got to film it. I've just got to get on with it." Actually, use a mirror, practice, watch what you do, and then it becomes second nature. I know when my hands are in shot. I know when they're not, because it's second nature, because through watching myself back through the shape of the mirror, I've taught myself the limitations. So it's become practiced, and I didn't have to record myself to do it, because in those days we didn't have digital cameras. I was old.
Hey, I suppose in many ways we've all done it a little bit with Zoom, haven't we? We've all been Zooming and looking at ourselves and zhuzhing our hair as we're talking to camera. I mean, I started switching mine off because otherwise I just distract myself. But it's that whole thing, isn't it? It's getting used to how you look and being comfortable with it and how you sound. But we can all, and that's another thing about standing up in front of a crowd, whatever it is step in to create a character in your head, because you have to talk yourself into it. Yes, you are a kick-ass business person, and yes, you do know what you're talking about, and you are convincing, and you have to, if you believe that in its self-belief and having that vision of you succeeding, which is really powerful. And I think that is making sure you have that picture of you at your best succeeding and how that makes you feel. That's always a good thing to be.
Brilliant. But we've had a lovely comment from Lisa Monaghan, who said, "A vibrant person changes the energy for the better generally when they walk into the room." I really hope that's true.
I really hope you're talking about us, Lisa.
Right. Well, that is us. So I hope you've enjoyed Cultivating Confidence, the very first one with Jill Geig and Kirsty van der Bog. We will be back again in a month's time. We've deliberately only doing these once a month. If you've got a topic on confidence that you would like us to discuss, drop it into the chat, DM us. We will absolutely investigate it, explore it, and join us and ask us questions, because that's what this is about. This is about us coming to you as a community. And Jill, do you have anything else to add to that?
Well, you came up with a Cultivating Confidence, and now you're struggling to say it. That's all I can say. Yes, absolutely. Come and talk to us, and also come and talk to us at any point. You can message us, come and chat, and if there's anything we can help you with, we'd all both be delighted, individually and together. If you want to see us together in action, come join our Jumpstart Your Business on the 24th of September. Yeah, come and join us for
Absolutely.
that. Or we're out and about networking and always happy to have a conversation. The more people we know, we get to, well, we love people, don't we?
We love
And we love
people.
helping.
On that
Yeah.
note, I think we'll close it. So yes,
Okay.
see you in a month's time, everyone.
Bye for now.
Bye.